You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Rosie, we've entered the month of April. You know what that means?
Playoff time?
Ha ha ha! Jokes. It's April 1st, April Fool's Day. No, the Stanley Cup playoffs, dude. 19 days away. Can you believe it?
Whew, that'll come quicker than we know, which is awesome, man. Yeah, I know. I got hit by a couple April Fool's things this morning already. Annoying, kind of, but also kind of fun. I'll take it, I guess. I don't have any big... You got any good ones? Anything that like really went off? We told my kids their school burnt down today, and they bought that.
Oh, geez. Whose idea was that? You or your wife's?
My wife's. I was like, that's aggressive, but all right.
I don't know. Full disclosure, Vic and I were talking yesterday, as we do before every show, and we're like, what should we name this show? And we did ponder Matthews on LTIR, but we didn't do it. Because that's not really like a joke. Like my gripe with April Fools is that people bend what April Fools is and they turn dark and weird and stupid.
I know. Where's the line? I guess the day is early. There's still some to come. I'm a little bit more privy to it now that it's on my mind. So we'll see. I don't mind a good harmless joke, but when you actually buy something and think it's real and then start texting other people and do things according to the news, it's pretty annoying.
That's Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. This is the Tuesday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. The one question I did have, Rosie, it happened yesterday, so I think it's real. Apparently, Sydney Sweeney's back in the game, dude. I got a chance here. No, I don't.
Who is she dating?
Some Italian dude for a long time, and I don't know why. I've tracked this stuff for a while, but she's supposedly wants to focus on her career, and so do I.
I did hear she is never going to stop doing nude scenes, so that's something we're celebrating right there.
It is. Cheers to that. But yeah, that was the big story yesterday, and a lot of people, myself included, were like, is this an early April Fool's or is this real? But apparently, supposedly, she's single, which I'll be sliding in her DMs following today's podcast. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. Can you imagine some of the DMs of like famous people? I can't.
I always wonder that. Like, how do you go... Like, do you even have... Like, some of the ones with like ridiculous... Like, 23 million people, like... What does your phone even look like? Can you even DM anyone on that? Or do you have a separate account? Like it would be full of thousands and thousands and thousands of DMs, wouldn't it? How could you possibly get to all that? I always wonder about those big dogs with just an outrageous amount of followers. How does that app even function in their hand? It would be something else.
Yeah, there's a filter setting on Instagram, as you know, where I think the majority of DMs go to a box that's never going to get open, that's got dust on it. So
yes, hire some people to look. But then you like podcasts and stuff, big name podcasts. They're like, oh yeah, they DM me and I checked it out. It's like, man, you must have someone going through your DMs for you and filtering out the garbage and passing along the legit stuff. But it'd be a whole nother operation at that level, man. It blows my mind some of the volume people are doing on a simple app.
So what you're telling me is today, Sydney Sweeney, fresh off the breakup, is just going through her DMs. She's going to find Nick Alberga's and just park it. No, thank you.
Yours probably wouldn't be the only pathetic reach out on her DMs, I'm sure.
Hey, not to get you in trouble. biggest DM of your life. Is there a celebrity out there that you've DM'd?
No, never. I didn't have Instagram till...
I guess it was prior, yeah.
I was older. I had kids. Okay. I think I had a kid the first time I got Instagram, and yeah, I didn't really do that thing. Any of my wheeling and dealings was always in the flesh for the most part. Yeah, only in the flesh. I never did the swiping right or any of that. I missed that whole era. And honestly, I'll never forget this. We were in Lehigh Valley outside of Philly, and these guys were having some people over. My family wasn't in town, so I went over to their apartment, and they had girls coming over. I'm like, oh, boy, okay. And they're like, no, we already know them, and we've been around them. This isn't like a first-time thing. I'm like, oh, cool. And these guys were all beauties. We're laughing, having a good time. And these 3 girls walked in the door, and those dudes playing in the American League who already knew these girls and had hung out with them before, all went into their shell, and I didn't see them for the rest of the night because they were texting each other and the girls from the same room, and the whole vibe went dead. And I went, you guys are embarrassing. And I left. And it was my first introduction to people not being able to talk to the opposite sex face to face. They could only do it through a screen. It was so obvious and outrageous. My mind was blown. So I'm glad I missed that and actually had to sack up and talk to people in real life.
Call me old school, Rosie. I'm cut from the same cloth in that respect with you, where I think it's kind of soft. I hate that people can hide behind their phones now, and that's why you hear so many stories. They go to meet up, and it's not the same person, or they're a piece of shit. And they're not the person talking in the DMs. Face to face is the best action, dude.
Well, it's a skill in life that you can't get away from. And I mean, I'm teaching my kids how to have a firm handshake and make eye contact and give more than one word answers to adults. And you start them off young and get them familiar with talking to people. But it's a life skill that you're going to have to use in an interview and in business and at work and in college and all different things. And if all you've ever done is talk through a screen and it terrifies you to talk to someone with eye contact face to face, it's a problem, dude. And I was shocked that, confident young hockey players couldn't just completely change their demeanor once people were in the flesh. And it was the most obvious thing I'd ever seen. I was shocked. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised the amount of time people spend on those things. But it is a life skill. People get out there and talk to people face to face.
We got to talk with our chat because there's just way too many people who have no clue who Sydney Sweeney is. And quite frankly, it's making me hurt a bit today because you got to know who Sydney Sweeney is if you're going to watch this show, please. So go on and Google. Spend a couple minutes after this show. Go on and Google. But it is April Fool's Day. We did discuss this before coming on. Do you have any stories from your playing days? Any pranks that come to mind? I don't even recall. Like I think there's two types of people who are fully entrenched in April Fool's Day, and those probably like us that are not really, or sort of you're in between because you did try to prank your kids today.
Yeah, I can't so Derek Settlemeyer, Nasty is anyone calls him. He was a long time equipment manager for the Philadelphia Flyers. Unbelievably good guy. He has a Nasty Knuckles podcast with Riley Cote.
Yeah.
Unbelievably good guy. And he loved pranking people. He loved like the snakes coming out of the coolers. And, I've golfed with him before. He got me with a snake beside my golf bag, like all coiled up and you jump and you hop and whatnot. He loved that stuff. So when I think about pranks around the locker room and whatnot, Nasty's the first guy to come to mind. But, I can't think of a specific April Fool's joke that just smoked everybody. Like sometimes there's a really good one, but I don't know. They're getting so common that you barely get out of bed or get showered and you've been tried to have someone get you like 3 times and you're kind of like, okay, enough of this bullshit. But I'll keep my eyes open tonight for a good one.
The ones that pissed me off in grade school, somebody would go out of their way. They're probably waking up at 5 a.m., putting toothpaste in the Oreos, man. Like, I got bit on that a couple times. I'm like, you got nothing else to do but to wake up early and put toothpaste in your Oreos?
I guess not. He got you, but he saw you coming from a mile away.
It was a girl. I think she had a crush on me.
I doubt it.
Here, eat this. No, definitely not. I did not give off that vibe, surprisingly enough. Like, hey, you free after school? That wasn't my vibe.
Wasn't your middle school vibe? I don't know. I'll see if my kids have any. My kids are in middle school, well, elementary and middle school. So see if they got any of that action happening today.
Yeah, I genuinely wonder because I remember growing up 20 years ago, it was sort of a thing. But now every time I sort of dread April Fool's Day. Having said that, one of my best friends, it's his birthday today, could only wonder what he has dealt with his entire life, 36 years on this earth, and to think about how many people, hey, April Fools, I mean, happy birthday. Like that would just get so tiring. But nevertheless, did you see this deal? Rogers and the NHL reportedly reaching a 12-year Canadian TV rights deal worth $11 billion, Rosie. Canadian.
Yeah, I kind of surprised they have the money, to be honest.
Where did it come from is my question. Like they negotiated, I guess, in good faith and nobody was talking about it. And boom, news drop. We have a deal.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. I like some people on there and other things I don't like as much. I long for the old school broadcasting where it's just to the hockey fan. And now they try to diversify it so much where it's like unrecognizable sometimes, and the majority of the people press mute in the intermission and aren't really interested in what certain people have to say. Fine, whatever. It is what it is. They're not going to change it and go backwards. I was just surprised it was such a huge deal announced out of the blue, and for that kind of money, it just seems like cable's kind of going the way of the dodo bird. But obviously, they got some shekels to hold on. So I guess we got more of the same for 12 years.
Zach Phillips writes in, you got to assume they're selling games here, man. They can't be doing that. You're right. They'll never make that money back. Like, I think the general belief is TSN, Amazon, whomever is going to get involved and they're going to share this baby. But for me, it was just more of a shocker that this came together behind the scenes and nobody even knew about it, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, a good piece of business by them. If that was their MO, they definitely kept that under their hat. And I don't know. I mean, who with that figure, if they're willing to come up with that, the NHL is going to say, okay, you got her, partner. But I don't know. I guess we'll stay tuned if they do some sharing and, piecemeal it out to other outfits. I don't know. But again, for the majority of the time, it's going to be more of the same from the broadcasts and the intermissions and all the other things that go along with it.
So this is funny in the chat. My guy Fazilla, I guess, went to Google. He checked out who Sydney Sweeney was, and now he's just posting like crazy in the chat. Goes on to say, I don't know who Lily Phillips is, too. Fair enough. Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips have been big stars over the last little while. I don't know if you've been tracking them, Rosie.
Yeah, it's kind of the decay of society in a lot of ways. But
you telling me you weren't lined up at the door, ready to go?
It's gonna be more things our chat doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, sorry. A lot of
it's I don't know. The money that young ladies are making online this day is actually mind-numbing when you see some girl doing who knows what on OnlyFans, but $50 million and $35 million and $2 million a month, and the amount of accounts that are out there when you count how many American girls are between 18 and 32. There's not that many of them, and then how many accounts there are. A large majority of young girls in our society are doing OnlyFans, which is I'm glad I don't have one, man, because I just can't quite get behind that being a father.
Tyson Barnett writes in The Decay of Society, poems by Jay Rosehill. It's funny you bring that up because I follow Jackie Redmond's husband, Emmett, who was on Big Brother Canada back in the day on Instagram. And he is now selling his sweaty gym socks for like $200, $300. And like, he has no shame. Like, I would probably do it too, but like, that's where society's at these days.
I did tell my wife, like, if there's like some foot stuff going on with people out there, could we get on board somehow and ride the money train as well? And still working on her about that one.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, he's I guess he's selling his boxers and his socks and some extra spending money. All the power to him. But yeah, this is not an April Fool's joke, by the way. This is real stuff we're talking about today because this chat is lit right now, Rosie. But we got a fun guest coming up today from Hockey Night in Scottsdale for the Missin Curfew podcast. Played a couple games as well for the Toronto Marlies. Former NHLer Jordan Schmaltz is going to drop by in about 15 minutes here.
Yeah, it'd be cool. He's doing some fun stuff in the media with some well-known outfits, and he doesn't pull too many punches, so it'll be fun. He's also got Craig Berube, I think some overlap perhaps from his time with the St. Louis Blues organization. So a few overlaps there that we can pick his brain about. So look forward to that.
At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. So it's my understanding the Leafs won't hit the ice until noon Eastern time, so we might miss this, but they've won 6 of 8. They have 4 home games remaining on the slate. Can you believe that?
4 left out of what are they at left?
41. 41.
Hey. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know. I just know that they're, you got Tampa and 2 Floridas. That's a big slate. So it's nice they did well on that Western swing, and 5 out of 6 points. I mean, it's pretty good. They got the majority of the job done. And again, going back to the sting of the San Jose game, fine, but they pulled off a last minute miracle to get an extra point, which I think is going to be huge down the stretch with these games against their rivals nipping at their heels, literally. So big games coming up regardless, but it's nice some of them are at home. I think they like playing there.
Will you be scoreboard watching tonight? You got Florida at Montreal, and the Florida game intrigues me. I don't know who they're going to trot out there, and this will be very, very telling if it's Vitek Vanacek, which I expect the backup to play in this game, and Bobrovsky tomorrow. But then I think about Paul Maurice, and all he cares about is the current game. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's Bob tonight, Vanacek tomorrow against the Maple Leafs. But will you be scoreboard watching? Florida at Montreal, Islanders hosting Tampa tonight.
Yeah, I definitely will be. I want to see how these teams fare, and if we can, every game's 2 points. If they keep rattling off, they'll be nipping at our heels all the way down. And that 3-point lead is so much nicer than 2. Again, that point against the Sharks, which arguably should have been 2, but it was 1. Very well could tell the story at the end of the day with them needing more than 1 win to tie it up. So yeah, I'm going to be totally scoreboard watching. I check the standings all the time. I look around the league and that wild card spots in the West and out our way. It's all interesting. So we'll see where it's at. And yeah, specifically that Florida Montreal one tonight is going to be interesting for maybe the fireworks for that end of the game clapper at Savard's head and seeing if there's retribution there. We'll see. It was pretty nice to see the Cats lost to the Montreal. They sometimes when they put it together, they can play some pretty good hockey.
The Habs are playing excellent hockey the second half of the season. And quite frankly, if they get into the playoffs, I think they're going to give teams fits. Like if they get in, they're probably going to play the Washington Capitals. But I wonder about the Mikkola situation. I think it's a perfect addressal time for Alberga Jay, maybe the best fighter in the league right now, right?
Yeah, is that guy even going to acknowledge the fact that he's coming
Mikola's
at
a big dude, man.
Yeah,
like he strikes
big.
me as a guy who'd probably accept that fight. He's a big dude.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Something to watch anyways. But I know that Jack guys, and I imagine Marty has talked to him just saying, hey, listen, I get it, but we can't be doing anything crazy over the top, putting your team down and them getting a power play goal on us to start the game. That is no bueno when you're doing that job. Quick way to get a lot of reduction in your playing time. So he's got to be smart about it if he's thinking that way.
Everything puts life into perspective. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but Mikkola was hit with a $5,000 fine. I was thinking to myself, if I got hit with a $5,000 fine, I just call it a life, dude. That is a tough blow, man. For him, it's like, whatever.
I don't even think he'll notice it coming off the old check. Not a big
Absolutely
one. More
not.
of a symbolic gesture to say we don't like what you were doing there. And what does the NHL do with their fine money? I wonder. I think I've heard of it.
They throw a bender after the season.
Yeah.
Get rinsed.
Gary Bettman gets a new car.
That's a good question. What do they do with the fine money? Like,
I've heard of it before. I think it's similar. I think it's similar to what we do with the super chats. It's a charity of some kind. I've heard of it and thought, oh, that makes sense. And it's not coming to mind right now. But I do believe they do something of value with that fine money.
How many vehicles has Tom Wilson bought Gary Bettman? Is the question.
He's got whacked quite a bit. Hey, I can't believe what that guy he has made himself quite the player, man. Like he is a high value asset to that team where he was kind of a fourth line, scrap his way into the league and was playing on the edge so much that he was getting fined and suspended. And he's turned himself into kind of reminds me of Marchand. Like Marchand wasn't Brad Marchand when he came into the league. He turned himself into that by constantly getting better and becoming more and more of a big game player. And I think Tom Wilson kind of reminds me of that, man. He's been impressive what he could do with his career.
I want him on Team Canada too. By the way, producer Vic, the best for a reason, sends us this. The NHL sends money forfeited through fines and suspensions from players to the NHL Players' Emergency Assistance Fund, while fines from coaches, staff, or organizations go to the NHL Foundation. There's your answer.
That's right. That is what I did remember that, or I didn't, but I knew that the Players' Emergency Assistance Fund. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, at least it goes somewhere valuable. And then is lost wages from suspensions is something too. Maybe Vic can.
Is it?
Maybe producer Vic can do some background Googling again, because that's something as well, which would be way heavier. I mean, a $5,000 fine, whoop-de-doo. A guy gets a 5-game suspension that makes $5 million a year. That's a chunk of change.
Completely unrelated. What'd you think of Alex Ovechkin? So Ryan Leonard, his season ends in college. He signs an ELC. This kid's the next best thing in the NHL. He's going to play for the Capitals, I think, tonight in his debut. But Ovi took him out yesterday. You see that?
No, took him out how?
There's a video of the Caps out with Ryan Leonard. Ovechkin's beside and already taking him under his wing. I thought that was kind of cool. They went for drinks or some food. He can't drink, obviously, legally yet, but he took him out.
Oh, took him out. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then you see.
Oh, you thought I said took him out like that? Okay.
Yeah, he and then like he kind of pulled everybody off. The
Very
ice
classy,
maker
right?
went to flower and stuff. He's doing the
Yeah.
classy stuff. It's I think he's just setting the table for the flowers and the parade and everything for when he breaks this record, which I hope it's this season, man. It's crazy how down to the wire it is. It's even more crazy that this guy's 7 years old, broke his leg this year and is still on the tear he's at. I just wonder what's in that guy's blood. Sometimes it's he's just a Russian machine. And I'm going to be starting to watch as it comes down to 3 goals and 2, start to be watching Caps games, which I don't do a whole lot of, to be honest, but that'll be a special night when he breaks that record. That's impressive, man.
The big thing is that he is the entourage now, right? They're going to have to pull Gretzky off the golf course. Like Bettman's going to be in the mix. It's going to be a whole like stampede and circus, if you will. He's got 9 games left. He needs 5 to beat the record here. But I think that's the cool aspect, is having Gretzky tour around with him now.
I guarantee Wayne doesn't want to do that.
I know.
All in the Capitals around watching every bloody game to see if this guy breaks his record. Yeah, that wouldn't be. I don't think that's going to be Wayne's favorite thing to do. But yeah, it'd be nice when he's there. I don't know, man. That's a lot of bloody goals to do. I'm going to watch just to kind of see, like, they're using him in kind of a circus-like way, considering how many points they've rattled off. They've just been like force feeding this guy who's literally hardly taking a stride out there, but it's working. It's kind of wild. I'm surprised it's not a little bit more of a story, but I think all eyes will be on him coming down the stretch, though.
The Great Chase, he's got 2 games coming up against Columbus, 2 against the New York Islanders. I did sort of a dissection yesterday in the NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast. Make sure to go check that out. But it would be kind of cool, man, just to wrap on that conversation, if he did it in the final game of the season at the Pittsburgh Penguins in his office. That'd be amazing to me.
That really would be. It's funny how sometimes sport things like that come together and it's just like it's a script. Like someone wrote it for a movie and you can't believe it happened that way. But it's not always, doesn't always go that way, which makes it special when it does. So we'll see what happens here, man. It's a little too close to comfort, to be honest. Like, it would be wild if he did it in the last game. He very well might need all of them. What would really piss me off is if he got one shy and just couldn't quite do it. And then next year, like second game of the year, he does. It's just kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's wanting to get her done this year. No question.
I hope it happens this year. They're playing Boston tonight. The Bruins are just in one. They stink right now. So I wouldn't be shocked if Ovechkin gets 2 or more in that game, but we'll see what happens. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Again, Jordan Schmaltz is coming up in about 7-8 minutes here. Simple decision for you. Is it Stolarz or Woll tomorrow?
Stalwart, Stoli, the goalie. Yeah, it's going to be him. Just, it's his turn. It was great that Woolsey got in there and kind of had a nice bounce back game, as we talked about yesterday. And it's his former team. You know, I mean, I don't know why that means he should, but I mean, he knows the guys, knows their tendencies. Maybe you could say that would give him a slight edge. I think these guys are always prepared and always in the zone. So it's not like, oh, he's going to prepare extra hard because it's Florida. Well, what the hell is he doing any other night? You're always preparing extra hard at that level. I think his play has proven it. But yeah, it just makes total sense. There's no reason whatsoever that you could say, oh, we have to go with Woll tonight. It seems to go against the grain too much. I think it's got to be Stoli.
Yeah, I agree. I think the number one right now is Anthony Stolarz. I think we're trending that way where he starts game 1 of the playoffs, but I brought this up so many times. It doesn't matter who starts game 1. It's who finishes every series. And there's so many examples of that in recent memory in the NHL. They're going to need both guys, quite frankly. But I think right now, you size these two up. I think Stolarz is the guy, and I want him against the better opponents. So would you play Woll against Columbus on Saturday? You almost have to because of like 6 days off between games here.
Yeah, for sure. Why not? Again, it makes more sense to play Stoli tomorrow. And then you go back to Woll, and just for the exact reason, it's his turn. If there's no reason not to go one after the other, and then, yeah, you don't want him sitting on the shelf too long. And even if Stoli stands on his head, I think you go back to Woll. It's interesting to see what they do. If they have a different if they have a different strategy, it'll start to come to fruition like right now. Like, what are you doing? And I don't see from what we've watched a reason that they would have any special strategy that would surprise people on how they're going to deploy their goaltenders. I think they're going to play them the way they've been playing them all year, and kind of, unless there's reason to go to one guy or the other, I think they'll just kind of go with the hotter hand, which, if all things stay the same, it's probably Stoli, right?
Yeah, I agree. Mike Batson writes in, though, Walsh should play, but I don't care who plays. It wouldn't play Stolarz against his old team. I don't know why he wouldn't do that. It doesn't really matter. Colin McGillis writes in, I think you start Stolarz. He's more consistent. Maxentius Decimus also agrees with playing Stolarz. I think that's the consensus. Patrick G. Mafia, the numbers say Stolarz. I tend to agree. I think he's the better of the two. Weirdly enough, I think the higher ceiling is with Joseph Woll, but the better season right now is Anthony Stolarz. And there's nothing in my mind. It's like, oh, it's his former team. He can't play that game. I think he's your guy, and you got to roll with him in this one. It's a big game, and the Panthers are going to be in the second half of the back-to-back. Again, I'm curious to see how they do tonight in Montreal, too, and who they play. Is it Vanacek, their backup, or do they go with Bobrovsky in the front end of the back-to-back here?
Yeah, that's almost more interesting to me on goaltenders is how Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers deploy their goaltenders in this back-to-back here. Obviously lost that game to Montreal. It'll be a pretty big response tonight, I imagine. These points, you can't let them slide to a team like that, although they're playing good hockey, but you would expect them to get absolutely half of the points in that standing. But tonight will be a big game, and then what are they going to look like on the second half of their back-to-back, depending on, I mean, if they lose again, I think they'll be coming out with some pretty heavy vigor. And I don't know, again, I'll be scoreboard watching. I'll be looking at the box scores and seeing how things are shaping up tonight, especially with both those teams nipping at our heels playing this evening.
So as mentioned, there's 19 days or so away from game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs for this Maple Leafs team. If you have a checklist between now and the next 3 weeks, what are you looking for game by game from the Maple Leafs perspective, Rosie?
Just within the bottom six chemistry, guys like Domi the other night, like is anyone missing it? Is anyone fighting it? Like who's the scratches? We got those different options of, the Yardencroaks and Holmbergs and Robertsons, those types of guys. Like, I'm just looking for some chemistry and for someone to step up and say, I know you got some decisions to make with the roster going to the playoffs. I'm here to make your job easy, and standing out and forcing their hand to be in the lineup. I'm looking for that stuff. Other than that, just, is Matthews ready to turn on the Jets? Has he been saving it for something? You see little flashes of him being like, "Ooh, baby, that is something I like to see," kind of thing. And I wonder if he's kind of been biding his time for the most important part of the season. I imagine these guys, they're competitive. They know about their legacy. There's contract issues going on with some of them. Are they tired of coming up short in the playoffs in this town? Are they tired of the same narrative? Are they ready to change the script and have people talk about them in a different light? It's why we're excited for the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I agree. And the biggest thing for me is find a way to stay healthy. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
We have this conversation. Max Pacioretty, I guess your guy in the back end too, Yanni Hakanpää. I forget he's a Maple Leaf. He's played 2 games, games, man. It's wild, man. I forget about him on a daily basis, but he's still there practicing to the best of my knowledge. But just stay healthy, get through these games, be consistent, play with pace, start to use these games as sort of a rehearsal for the Stanley Cup playoffs without going too hard and heavy, but still playing your game. I think you can play to your identity and not play balls to the wall as to what you're going to see starting game one, or you should see at least.
Well, this team doesn't play balls to the walls anyways. I don't think we're in too much jeopardy of that happening, but I think the message is going to be just that from Craig Berube. Play your game. Like, don't change anything. As soon as you start tiptoeing around and pulling up a little bit and going into the corner late, the timing gets thrown off. And that is when you do get injured, is when you're trying not to get injured. There's really nothing you can do. Yes, that is a nightmare scenario, having one of your big dogs or something bad happening to a valuable piece of your roster with 4 games left in the season right before playoffs. Like, of course, that's every team's nightmare, but there's not really anything you can do to prevent it. Again, if you start trying to avoid injury, that's when things are just out of sync and you probably are more likely to get injured. Play your game, do the same things you've been doing. At the end of the day, it's a sport and you got to go play it.
So I wouldn't anticipate any lineup changes for the game tomorrow against the Panthers. Again, the Leafs practicing just after this show concludes, so we'll talk about that coming up tomorrow with Carter Hutton. But Nick Robertson's a guy I'm looking at, health bomb the last couple games, but I anticipate the same lineup. And quite frankly, I think this could be the lineup with exception of a guy like Max Pacioretty, maybe drawing in for like a Holmberg or a David Kampf for that matter.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's kind of why it's hard to get too worked up about the pairings and the combinations on the bottom 6 is because I just, in the back of my head, I kind of know that Pacioretty is going to be coming back. And I think that they value him. They brought him in for a reason. I think he's proven enough. The way he's reinvented his game, the experience he has, he's going to be in that lineup, and that's going to shake things up. A Nick Robertson, like, is he going to be able to get a chance to get back in and show that he can play in the playoffs? Those are those little things that still those intangibles that could change over time. But again, we'll see.
The following interview is brought to you by our friends over at Greta Bar. Whether it's before, during, or after the game, it's the place to be on King Street West. Awesome street food and wicked arcade games. 590 King Street West, Greta Bar. Let the games begin. Bringing in today's guest now from Hockey Night in Scottsdale, from the Missin Curfew podcast, former NHLer, former Toronto Marley. It is Jordan Schmaltz. What's going on, Jordan?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
We're doing well. This is a big day, but it's April Fool's, and I asked Rosie off the top of the show, and I don't know where guys were leaning the last couple of years, but you got any April Fool's pranks from back in the playing days?
I don't know. It's been like the social media days. You'd always just see like those burger tweets out there. And what I mean by that is just you'd always like see something that would pop up on Instagram or Twitter, and guys in the locker room would show you something, and you'd like have to double take, and then you'd always realize it was April Fool's. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of like really good pranks. I'm not sure, man. I just always like you got to be careful what you're reading today. You even saw it earlier with Tiger Woods saying he was going to be ready for the Masters despite his Achilles being torn, and then he threw out something like, I'm just kidding. So I'm trying to think, boys. I don't know. I can't remember like a really good prank on this day, but you got to be careful. You got to be alert, and it's always a good day.
Yeah, the social media thing, I don't really remember. Were guys still like putting a cup of water under a guy's helmet in his stall so that when he pulls it down, it splashes or hanging a hanger on the back of his pants so he does the entire practice with a coat hanger on his pants and that type of shit? I'm trying to think of other ones, but it wasn't really unique to April Fools, I didn't think.
Yeah, I think the hanger or something like with Chikrin the other day too, right? You saw like the $100 bill. Now it wasn't probably $100 bill on the back of his jersey, but maybe something on the name bar on the back. Just little things like that, like a leaner, like you said, where you take off your helmet and you got the Gatorade cup underneath. There's different things like that. I can't really remember though, like just like one really good April Fool. Maybe I like calling them down to GM, but no, it's always a funny day. Those are the pranks you miss in the locker room for sure.
You do. And the big story yesterday, I thought it was an April Fool's joke, but Sydney Sweeney apparently supposedly single. Have you slid in those DMs yet?
I have not, but I live by one rule, one fast and hard rule is shoot to get hot, shoot to stay hot. So I might have to slide in there and see what happens. It's you can't be scared to get iced, boys. You know what I mean? That's just the name of the game.
I wish you boys the best of luck. Jordan, you spent some time in the Maple Leafs organization with the Marlies. What do you remember about your time in Toronto?
The Hockey Academy, boys. It was back in the day where they had, the Kyle Dubas project. I loved it. I mean, you get treated like an NHL team in terms of I've played in 5 or 6 spots in the American Hockey League, and I just remember we had like a football roster that year. I think our payroll was like almost the same size or the equivalent to the Phoenix Coyotes that year. I think we had like maybe 15 guys on one ways, and we were all sitting in the stands. We're like, where did we go wrong here, fellas? I know we're collecting a decent clip here in the AHL, and there's no escrow, but we can't even get in the lineup. So we probably had like 12 or 13 guys on one-way contracts. We had a really good team, but as you know, in Toronto, it's especially then as well, and even the American League in general, it was just a lot of development oriented, and you're sitting out games playing, the aces skate in the morning, and you're sitting for a guy that was a 4th round pick 2 years ago. That's probably never ever going to play. But I just remember those were the fond memories. We had a really good veteran crew there. Dickie Clune, Garrett Wilson, Kenny Agostino, myself, Nick Patan, Ben Harper, a lot of those names. We had a really good crew of dudes. And then the young guys were good as well, with Sandine and Liljegren and some of those other guys. Pierre Engvall, the giraffe, the big neck. You know what I mean? He had to wear a neck guard. He'd have to wear probably 3 or 4 of them because he was a big dude. But yeah, Sheldon Keefe was awesome too. I just think it was a weird time there with how many guys they kind of brought in on insurance policies in terms of, maybe could make the team, but ultimately were sent down. So I just remember our payroll. I mean, it was pretty funny. We'd always joke about it.
What was it like being in the mix with Mike Babcock in Leafs training camp? You got a couple games now?
Yeah, I did. I think it was like I made it to like the final cut. I was brought in that year. I was traded from St. Louis. I was on a one-way contract. I was kind of traded to compete for a 5, 6, 7, 8 role. Ultimately got sent down. I think maybe like the last cuts or whatever. But yeah, Babs was hilarious. I mean, I didn't spend a ton of time with him, but I just remember like he didn't exactly hate to hear himself talk. That was for sure like the one thing you'd kind of blow it down and get in a little powwow. But I didn't get a ton of time with him. I just remember he called me in the summer and was kind of just asking me about my game, and then went into camp. And we were actually in Newfoundland that year. We were in St. John's. We did 2 weeks there, and then ultimately made our way back to Toronto. But yeah, nothing crazy I remember that stood out. I just remember always blowing it down and maybe like to hear himself talk a little bit.
Well, you mentioned you did play for Sheldon Keefe. I mean, there's been a lot of speculation about his style of play or style of coaching in Toronto, especially with a group of veteran guys in the American League. Was he like the definition of a player's coach, or what was your thought on some of his tactics?
I liked it. I really did. I thought he was, even going to the NHL like 1 or 2 years before his time. I loved his possession style of play. I loved how he didn't really believe in the whole, dump the puck in, go find it, go chase the game if you didn't have to. It was a lot of reloading down low, like even into your own end in the neutral zone, where you'd kind of come back, set a breakout, you kind of establish speed from your top of the circles, and then find and fill lanes. And I thought it really complemented the way I saw the game. I thought at times maybe you got to play north, you got to play faster. But I loved it, especially just the way that he was able to organize the offense, the 5-man cycle in the offensive zone, and different things like that. I thought he saw the game from a really not only offensive side, but a kind of an innovative way to play the game. And when it worked, it was obviously, if you guys knew and you saw it with the Leafs, it really worked. I think sometimes you kind of get lost in between in the neutral zone, especially when you should bring it back, or you should just play a north game. And I think maybe that's the one critique I would have on it. But I really liked it. I enjoyed Kiefer. He was really good to me. And I really liked the style of play for sure.
Was Joseph Wall on that Marlies team with you?
Joseph Wonderwall was. Yes, he was.
What was it like? Did you know right away that kid was going to be a stud? Or?
Yeah, he was a young kid. He was coming out of BC. He was smiley, happy-go-lucky, similar to kind of you see the interviews now. He's a harmless kid, but I definitely saw the athletic ability, no doubt. I just thought when he put it together, he was working with a goalie coach that year, Johnny Elkins, who was another beauty. And I thought, you never know with goalies. It's going to take a couple of years, but I just thought at that time, the first thing I saw was the athletic ability, and the way he could get post to post was the biggest thing. We had Casper Kokonsalo there as well that year, so he was a pretty good netminder as well. But Wooler for sure. You just saw the athletic ability and the range, I think, was the biggest thing.
Yeah, he's developed nicely. What about your time in St. Louis? Like, you're on the roster from that 18-19 season, really a tale of 2 seasons. Did you catch the pre-Christmas time where they weren't doing so good, or did you catch some Craig Berube after January there when they basically torched the league and got themselves a Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I was there. I made the team out of camp, and I spent probably, I think I was there for like the first 45 games. I think I played 20, a lot of health bombs. So I was in the shit for sure. We had Mike Yo was there. He ultimately ended up getting fired right around Thanksgiving, and then they brought up Chief. Chief I had in the minors the year before, actually 2 years before that, and then as well in St. Louis when he was an associate coach. So I knew Chief for a bit there, and when they brought him in, like the team, I mean, there was a ton of guys that were coming in. Schenner was relatively new. You had Ryan O'Reilly, and then obviously Binner came in and started kicking, and it kind of went from there. But I saw it through probably right around February, and then they sent me down to San Antonio. They said, "Pack your shit. You're gonna get going on waivers here." So I got sent down, and then I never played a game. And then they won the cup, and I was watching it on my couch, and I'm like, "Fuck, what happened here, boys? What happened?" But no, I was definitely happy for those guys, and you could see. I mean, they had the talent in the room, obviously, and the defensive core was so good. Like, people don't realize how good they do and they don't. Jay Bouwmeester was one of my favorite defensemen ever, not only to play with, but just watch. Like, that guy was just a shutdown specialist, and him and Parayko in that final and the whole playoff really were unbelievable. So yeah, I definitely saw the first half, the worst side of it, if you will.
Well, you must have been crunching the NHL rule book on who gets what does it qualify to get a Stanley Cup ring. Playing 20 games with a team that wins the cup, you'd think that'd be damn close, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure it would. And I think if at that time though, Rosie, like, I was, to be completely honest, I was so pissed off, and I was like, my 5th year with the Blues. I was a first round pick. I was like, I went down to the minors with a bad attitude, and I was just acting, like I was maybe too good for the league at the time, which I wasn't. The American Hockey League's a great league. And I actually ended up, like, when they put me on waivers, I was trying to get traded, and they slid me in on the waiver wire like right before the All-Star break. So I cleared, and I don't know if I would have got picked up, but maybe would have had a decent chance. At that time, no. So I think they were just done with me. They were like, you know what, fuck this kid. You know what, we're not calling him up to be a black ace or anything. And ultimately they ended up winning. So definitely, I think if I would have had a better attitude and been a better soldier, probably would have a ring, but probably wouldn't have been playing. So that's I guess the way she goes.
Yeah, that's the trade, I guess, the trade-off right there. But I was going to ask you too on Chief. Are you stunned at all at the job he's done here in Toronto so far?
No. I think Craig Berube is one of the best coaches. Maybe we didn't see eye to eye on some of the things, involving my game, but I love Chief. I think he's a great coach. He's a nail gun, as I would call him. Just I love how tough he is. I love what he instills in his players. And the biggest thing about Chief is he understands his skill players. Like, he, sometimes maybe a hard-headed coach, or, some of these coaches that are tough guys might be what I call maybe a meat stick, but he's really smart. Like, the guy, he gets it. He knows how to handle skill. And then he just really wants to play a really north-south brand of hockey. So no, I'm not shocked. I was actually in Utah probably 2-3 weeks ago. And I had dinner with my brother, and Willie Nylander is a really good friend of the family. He played in Chicago with my brother with the Mission growing up, and he was just saying how much he loves Chief and just the system and the way they, just operate. And just, I just think even just it's a mentality when you're playing with Chief. Somehow a coach makes you tougher, and I think that's what Chief does to a lot of his teams, and you can see it with the Leafs.
Yeah, well, speaking of those Leafs, the way they're playing this year, leading the Atlantic, are you buying what they're selling? You think this team's different and capable of doing some damage in the playoffs?
I don't know. So if the playoffs started today, who do they get? They get Ottawa.
Yeah.
Round 1. Man, that's a tough matchup. I don't know. It's going to be so hard to come out of the East, especially I even just look at like what happens when you get to Florida. It's like, oh man, that's not a team I want to play. I don't know, boys. I think they can win a round. I would be shocked, not shocked. I'd be surprised if they made it out of the second round. There's some holes in that forward core. I like their decor, actually. I like their goalie, but I just think some of those spots in the middle six and the fourth line, I have some question marks about for sure.
No, that's a fair breakdown. I mean, they've won one playoff series in like 2 decades. It's understandable to wonder about this team moving forward. I think some things have to go right for them. But yeah, that's the one thing I did want to ask you about, since you're a former defenseman in the league and pro hockey. Like, the blue line has been a big story for me in general. You talk about the crease. I'm happy with that. But I love the Carlo pickup. I think he's been really, really good for them. But just your general impressions on Toronto's blue line compared to even last year.
I like it. I mean, I love Chris Tanev's game. I mean, this guy, I love just his ability to shut down, again, that right side. I love his gap in the neutral zone. I love his stick. And he's a sneaky, better passer than people give him credit for. So I really like his game. Obviously, you touch on Carlo. I think that was a key addition as well. Now, McCabe, I like as well, too. He's solid. He's a good Wisconsin boy. I played with him growing up a little bit. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, he's been playing his offside a lot of the year, and I really like what he's done over there. He's been a great piece. So I think I do really like their blue line. It's just, like I said, some of those pieces in the middle six I worry about up front. But if the big boys can show up and they can get it done and they can help lift this team up and play, probably at a level that's going to match a team like Florida, or probably even more, and maybe with a little bit of grit. You never know. But I just look at that team like Florida. It's like, man, that line of Tkachuk, you got Marchand, and then you got Bennett. It's like, I don't know, man. Those guys are nasty. They'll just like carve your heart out with a butter knife. Those guys are crazy, man.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, how hard do you go for this Atlantic division? I mean, if not, a good chance you play against a Florida, which people think they kind of match up against this year, where on paper you should be good against Ottawa. But I think that just terrifies Leafs fans going up against Ottawa, and they can, with the Tkachuk factor and whatnot, all of a sudden, like, losing to them would be, like, I don't know if they could even handle it. It's you think they're just going to blindly go full tilt and go after that Atlantic division?
I think so. I think you got it. I think you just as competitors and Rosie, it's
what else can you do?
The National League. It's just get 2 points and every night just kind of a new night. So yeah, I think they're definitely gonna go for it. I'm wondering. I think they can beat Ottawa. I really do. I think Ottawa's a sneaky, gritty team, but I think they can get past Ottawa, and then from there, we'll see what happens. But like, are we sold on Washington and the Metro, fellas? Like, do we think they're as good as they're showing? I don't know. Like, if there's one team I'm not the biggest believer in the East, would be Wash.
Well, the big story for me is how wide open it is, right? Like, you're so right. I think you can make a case for a variety of different teams where this year specifically, there's not that one team where you're like, shit, they're not going to beat them. Like, you're right on Washington. Yeah, they've had a great season. Ryan Leonard's going to come into that lineup. They got 2 lefty goalies. We all know on this podcast how I feel about lefty goalies in general. There's opportunity is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. No one's even mentioned Washington to have 103 points already. No one's even mentioned them, and it's all about the Ovi show. And the way they're playing is odd. I mean, they're using Ovi in the craziest way. That coach is trying to get him the record. It's just kind of distracting. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was a big shakeup in the Metro and someone else came out of it, or some matchups that you didn't really expect. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, that Metro's it's legitimately a wild card. You got Carolina, New Jersey, and then obviously if Montreal, they're in the mix. The Rangers are in the mix. Spencer Car Battery, as I call him, boys. I think he's going to win the Jack Adams, but I don't know about his team. I think maybe they get around. I just love that video last night surfacing too with Ovi taking out Ryan Leonard. I don't know if you guys have touched on the pod today.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, just get your young guy out. Let's go have a couple. We're going to play Boston tomorrow. They're not very good. They're on an absolute skid. They're free falling like Tom Petty. Let's go have a couple, fella. Congratulations. We'll go sweat it out at morning skate. We'll be ready for tonight.
I'm playing that Leonard ATG tonight. Just to wrap, we need a scouting report. So we went to Nashville a couple of weeks ago. We work for the Nation Network. Obviously, you can see my branding here. But we do a Nation vacation every year. We went to Nashville. So give us a scouting report of Utah. What's cooking in Utah? Should that be in the mix potentially next year as a trip?
Do you guys ski or snowboard?
I do.
Rosie does. I don't.
I don't know if it'll be that kind of a trip though.
No.
Skiing?
I would say, well, first of all, I think if you do, you definitely factor in a day in Park City or something like that, because it's really nice and it's only about a half hour away from Salt Lake City. So I would say at least factor in a shift in Salt Lake City. They got the No Name Saloon there. There's a couple of good spas. You could definitely do a ski day if you wanted to. If not, you could just kind of kick it around the town. But yeah, I think you guys should do it. I think especially if it's one of those bigger games where they're on TV, where they've been doing those whiteouts, the arena absolutely pumps. It really does. I don't know what the acoustics or how it's built, but when it gets rocking, it's actually buzzing. So if it's a good game, if it's a TV game, Ryan Smith usually dials in the white towels and they get it buzzing. So I would say, yeah, it's a little sleepy downtown Salt Lake City. I'm not going to lie. It's a little sleepy just in terms of kind of the nightlife or restaurants or just overall scene. But the arena is great. Park City is close, and the surrounding areas are nice. So, yeah, I would say, especially with it being new in the league, absolutely. A little nation vacation to Salt Lake City. But I think, Nikki, you gotta get out there and ski, man. Come on, tips up. Get out there. It's.
What do they call it? Après ski? We have those parties here in
Après-ski,
King Street
yeah.
West. These fucking jokes show up in like ski wear. They're not even skiing. I don't understand it, dude. I don't get it.
Yeah, they have like 10 Aperol spritz and then go home. Yeah, that's exactly the vibe. 100%.
Style, I think.
Is it true that last calls are like 1 o'clock in Utah or something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
vanilla.
brutal.
It's I
Oh,
think
thanks.
it's 1, and you
Yeah.
can't order a double. So
No way.
if you're a guy that likes a stiff one, you can't get a double. And then certain spots, you actually have to order food every time you order a drink. So that could be it depends on their liquor license. So you might have to order like a bag of chips or a side of rice or, whatever it is, a hot dog with your drink. I remember talking to a guy that I actually am good buddies with. I played at North Dakota, and he played in the ECHL there in Utah. And he said at some spots, like at the end of the night, they'd have like 60 bags of chips just on the table because they had to order a food item with their drink. So yeah, it's a little vanilla, fellas. I'm not gonna lie.
I think we'll look elsewhere, but we'll
Yeah.
keep in mind. We'll keep in mind.
right.
Yeah, it's just tough to go from like Nashville to like Utah, but I wanted your perspective. And what was it like ripping it out with Willie in Utah? Was everybody just looking at Nylander being like, holy shit, what a stallion?
He's the best. I mean, Willie
Yeah.
Styles he's all time.
What's he like?
He's great, man. He
Yeah.
just came over to Nick's place, and Nick cooked actually made fajitas that night. So I
Nice.
just flew in for that night, and then I did a on the glass series with Tyson Nash. So got to spend some time with Willie. But yeah, I always tell the story because we used to go over to Sweden in the summers, and we would skate with the U Garden, which was the pro team over there. We'd skate with Willie, his brother, Michael Nylander, even too. But the one year we went over there was after my first year pro. I was playing in Chicago in the American League, and we were in Sweden. We were skating, and these guys, these Nylanders, like they'll just park their car wherever. Like they don't care. They just leave it running, and we're like, we'll run in and get something to eat right downtown Stockholm. So it was like the 8th or 9th day of doing this in a row, and someone was probably following us around, knowing that we were doing that. So we go into this sushi place. We just leave it running right outside downtown Stockholm streets. Double park it. Like the streets are tiny. Double park in a car. So we run in there. We get sushi. We come back out. The car's missing. We're like, oh my God, what happened here? So we look around the block like, did we park it on the other side? What's going on? Long story short, car gets stolen. And we realize, I'm like, okay, well, the car gets stolen. It was a car from a car dealership that kind of just gave him a deal. And I'm like, wait, my passport was in there. Oh, I'm like, oh my God. And we're leaving in like 2 days. I'm like, Willie, like my passport was in there. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to call my dad. You guys can figure it out because I can't miss my tea time. So he just leaves me with Mikey, and we, try to go figure it out. Michael helps me for a little bit, but then realizes those guys are going to golf. So he leaves me. So now I'm calling like the U.S. Embassy. I got my mom on the phone. What do I do? I'm panicking. And those guys are just laughing, having a great time. Like they could care less. Like they were making that twilight round of golf. So that's the Nylanders, man. They're just chill, doing their own thing in their own lane, cool as a cucumber. So that's always a funny story I like to tell, but yeah.
Yikes. You track that thing down or what?
I didn't. I had to
Wow.
So me and Mikey went into like, like those little photo booths in a mall where it's like you get like the sleeve of pictures after you're done, and you kind of close the curtain, you go in there. So we go in there because I needed like one of those headshots to take it to the US Embassy or the consulate. So I'm taking these pictures, and Mikey is getting in my pictures, like with his like tongue out, like doing all these stupid faces. I'm like, Mikey, I need one of just me in here because I actually have to take this to get my passport. He's like, oh, okay. So they're just always just fucking around, man. It was funny. But yeah, I got it figured out. I got a passport like expedited in 2 days, I think. So it all worked out. But yeah, that was a funny story.
That's wild, dude. Well, anyways, you're doing some excellent stuff out there. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon here.
Fellas, thanks for having me, and stay with it up there, eh?
Thanks, Jordan.
Sounds good. Take care.
Bye.
That is Jordan Schmaltz of Hockey Night in Scottsdale, the Missin Curfew podcast. Some great stories, man. Great insight. I just love how like conversational he is too.
Well, that story didn't make Willie sound like too good of a guy.
No.
My goodness gracious. Reminds me of my buddy in Austin in December, lost his passport down there, and he had a circus getting home. It was basically a nightmare for the poor guy, and there wasn't a whole lot we could do to help him. But yeah, at least he didn't have to go through that on his way home. But yeah, Willie left him high and dry, and so did his dad. Not a good look, Willie. Not a good look.
It's just like a really, really chill life in Stockholm and Sweden specifically. I've been there a couple times. It's very laid back, very laid and chill. Everything will be all right kind of vibe. But
yeah.
Kind of cool to hear that perspective of Willie Nylander. Obviously having a fantastic year for the Maple Leafs. Hope he has a big one tomorrow night against the Florida Panthers. Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app. Use the code NATION to get in on the game. That's NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. Ovechkin anytime goal tonight. Let's do that. And Ryan Leonard, ATG as well. NHL debut against Boston.
Wow, you stole it right out of my mouth. I was going Ovi anytime goal. Let's get that countdown really clicking for real, where the whole world's going to start watching here. Let's see if we can get that going sooner than later. As I said, it'd probably be a lot better to get it done this year rather than early next year. So I'm on board with that too.
Maxentius Decimus writes, hello, Pontus. Can we get a hello, Pontus, to wrap up the show today, Rosie?
Hello, Pontus. You doing okay? Yes. Okay. Good to see you again, Pontus.
Thank you. And producer Vic likes Habs money line tonight.
Ooh,
Montreal hosting the Florida Panthers. Maybe it's the classic look ahead for the Cats, man. We got the Leafs.
Do you think we're going to get the pissed off Panthers after that, though?
Probably, yeah.
Yeesh. We'll see. At least
what will you be like? So we got you're not here tomorrow. What will you be like if the Leafs don't win that game on Wednesday? Will it depend how that game's played? Or are you going to be in
it'll
mood?
be what they look like, man. Yeah. Are they getting outclassed, out-muscled, out-competed? Is their intensity level heads and shoulders above the Maple Leafs? I'll be pissed off. If it's a good game and they drop it, no big deal. But to me, you can look at the paper and crunch this and that, and yeah, we got this covered. At the end of the day, it's that compete level, it's the complacency. Like, are these guys gonna, when the going gets tough and you need something to happen, you have to force the issue? Are they willing to like lower their shoulder and go through a wall and get the bloody job done? The Panthers have been doing it for several years. It's time for the Leafs to adopt that mentality. So we'll see where they're at.
This is the scenario I see playing out. Corey Parrish rating in. Florida is beating Montreal tonight, but then Toronto beats Florida tomorrow. That's the way I see things going. That's just my prognostication.
Wow. So they lose both games, the Panthers?
No, I think Florida will beat Montreal tonight, then gotcha. Toronto will beat Florida tomorrow.
I think that's I would love that. I think they're going to get retribution against Montreal. I can't see them losing 2 in a row to them. That'll take some out of them most likely, and they're back-to-back. And can they get back up to play the Leafs, who hopefully will understand the gravity of that particular game? It very well could end up that way, and I hope it does.
And a rested Maple Leafs team, too. They're going to have, 2 days off. They played Sunday in Anaheim, now back home in a Wednesday game. So we'll see what happens, Rosie. We'll talk on Thursday. Carter Hutton in tomorrow.
Looking forward to it. See you Thursday.
There you have it, Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leafs Want to Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Also, don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to Jordan Schmaltz for dropping by the show, as well as producer Vic. Great job as per usual. We'll talk tomorrow. Take care. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.